This is Counterpoint, and I'm your host, Tanya Allen. We're back with our current events panel with lots of commentary on the latest headlines. Today, we're going to discuss the U.S. operation and ouster of Maduro and seizing of oil operations in Venezuela and what that means for the world, especially for us here in Canada. We'll cover a recent lawsuit by a 9-year-old against an 11-year-old for injuring his finger with a toy dinosaur at daycare. We'll dive into the latest with the Conservative Convention taking place at the end of January in Calgary. And we'll cover the devastating story of a boy in Nova Scotia who was mauled to death by dogs. What can and should be done? Lots to get through. And joining me now is Michelle Samard, lawyer, privacy and cybersecurity specialist, and Mike Patton, political commentator. Welcome back. It's been a while. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. And just like that, the new year started with alleged invasion, displacement of Maduro in Venezuela. Lots going on in Venezuela. Who wants to start us off? Michelle, why don't you take us through what happened?
Okay, so literally the United States decided, which I'm surprised, we had the holiday season, they decided like, oh, we're gonna go invade Venezuela. And it's probably a lot to do with the midterms that are going to be coming up. And Donald Trump has a plan. And at the end of the day, he needs to execute his plan as fast as possible. So they did it, but under the jurisdiction of the Justice Department, saying that Maduro was a person that is wanted within the United States. But again, it's problematic because he is a leader of another country. And that country did not view him as a person of wrongdoing. So the problem we had is like United States went in without Congress approval, which is required
Mhm.
under the Constitution of the United States. And not only that, it's also required under international law because the United States signed, they ratified the treaty of not to invade another country in their personal affairs, and yet they did. And again, there's an excuse of why they did that, but I'm sitting there going like, again, and how does that fare given the fact that we are and Trump is not even unabashed about it. He is completely out there saying like, well, we're there to help the people of Venezuela, but it's really about helping the Americans because we have oil and stuff like that. And Mike's going to chip in, but when Mike chips in, I want you to talk about this. He recently had a meeting with all the oil executives, and the Exxon CEO had made a point, which Exxon has, and many other US companies have like arbitration legal proceedings that are going on with Venezuela. And and now that he made his point saying like, I'm not sure if it's investable, now
Mm.
Trump has said, well, then I guess he's not interested. And so for me, I sit there and it's problematic because it's like, well, I thought it's about, homegrown business and what you're going to do.
Okay, well, let's talk about oil in a second. But before that, Mike, and I'm going to let you jump in here. I recently did a show on Venezuela, spoken to a diaspora Venezuelan here in Canada. And she said many, many Venezuelans, especially those in the diaspora, are thrilled that Maduro's gone. And they said, finally, someone's displaced him. And so there is, and I said, well, that's not what the headlines are saying when we see the reaction around the world. She said, yes, but you need to ask a Venezuelan. And then they are telling you that they didn't want him as leader. That's why they voted in someone else. And then he just stole the presidency, I guess. And when he lost re-election, and Mark Carney, Mike Patton, you can chime into this. Mark Carney even lauded that Maduro is gone.
Yeah. Yes, and I'm sure the Liberals did polling before they agreed with anything that Donald Trump did. But Donald Trump is an amazing president. It's very interesting. He's changing the motto of the United States from "E pluribus unum" to "F around and find out." Like the impacts of what happened in Venezuela are global in nature. Part of the reason the Americans went in and removed the president of Venezuela has to do with Venezuela and what he was doing there, but
Mm.
every bit as much what was happening internationally with the Chinese, the Russians, and the Cubans really taking advantage of the situation in Venezuela to have a foothold to torment the United States. And the Americans were smart enough to see that and really be concerned. So this is a Venezuela story where Venezuela is really a part side actor to a real global thing. And the other thing to really remember here is Venezuela has the largest oil reserves
Sure.
on the planet, and that oil is very similar to Canada's. And let me tell you, that's going to be a huge threat to Alberta oil moving to the United States going forward.
Yes, and that's something I want to unpack after we come back from this commercial break because As Canadians, we're sitting here thinking, okay, this is happening in Venezuela, but how is this going to impact us? Well, we're going to discuss that in a few moments when we come back from this commercial break.